show 100%.
So that's what we cleaned up in probably
January.
Any other questions? Okay. A couple of things we need to do. We need to go over our guidance. I said the Excel budget. I think everybody, there's just a few minor decision points we need to make there. Before we get to, maybe which makes sense, to do the debt modeling or the guidance first? Because I'm kind of related.
It's up to you. I'm here all night.
Well, can you do sort of the debt modeling quickly?
Sure. What scenario did you want me to?
Maybe start with, well, do you have a favorite one?
I do not.
Then let's start with 3.
Okay. 3 it is.
One of the things we're going to have to think about right now for this budget, if you could go to the capital financing
Share
tab.
screen on Zoom.
Okay. Why is this at the bottom? Can we move it?
No.
Okay. You wanted to go to the capital financing tab?
And you just show that right up there in 2020 bonds, it says 398711. We actually have about $5 million in capital reserves, so we could turn that to 0. And that would not change on debt service in the current year, right, Amy? But it would change it in the out years.
Correct.
So can you show us what debt service is now and then what it would look like in the out years? So show us your debt service projection would be.
So I'll highlight the debt service line so it's just easy to follow. So for fiscal year 27, it's anticipated to be $9,064,000. Actually, I'm just gonna do this. And then if I go and change and make this 0, you can see that the impact starts in 28. So it was at 8,098,000. It went down to 7.5.
So if we do that, you see we're going from the 8 to the 756, which is about $500,000 difference, right?
Oh, thank you.
Keep 8 as the dollar number and now change that 100,000 to 500. And if our target is to keep it at 8 million, then you go to the next year, we're at 7.2, that becomes 700. Next one becomes 500 or whatever. You see? So the idea is to keep that number flat because when we do the capital project, we get rid of that. And that's not a debt, that's not a taxing. That's one thing we can do.
No, where does that come from?
That would be taxed. Just like we tax for, right now we're taxing at the 9, the 8, the 7, the 8. We would still be taxing at that amount, but 7 of it, 7.23, 7.5 would be debt service and 500 would be cash. Still totaling 8 million.
So can that not be a combination of taxing and reducing cost? Is that not a thing?
Well, you could do that and you would have an immediate mill rate relief, but now when we go to the capital project, it's gonna be a big spike. So the idea of past boards have tried to keep their cash for capital and debt, if you think of that as one subtotal, keep that steady at 8 million. So if debt service goes down, cash for capital goes up. If debt service goes up, cash for capital gets squeezed, but you try and keep it back at about 8 million. The idea would be to keep it at 8 million and then the next year 8 million plus inflation. 8 million plus inflation, so that slowly is keeping up, so that you're creating some capacity. So then we go to the bonded. Where do you have the capital project in there?
I have it in, actually I should say at the bottom, 2035 and 2036.
So if Matt says, comes in next year and says, let's approve Spider Line this year, can you model what that would look like?
So I think then that would be the 2031 modeling. Um, 31 and 32.
So if it gets approved next year, so when do it get started on 2 years later or that year?
It takes about 2 years.
Yeah.
So when does the debt, you can see the debt service, look at where we are, 10 and 13. So starting next year does not give us a lot of time to plan for that. Amy, how would we deal with that? I mean, if that's the scenario that comes to us, what would the recommendation, I mean, that's a huge leap. How would we do that?
So we would likely manipulate our capital reserves. So we have about the 5 million in unassigned, and then we would just basically do a project plan for our capital reserve fund, where we start there. We are either obedient in or disciplined, I'm sorry, in contributing all of our year-end savings to the plan, only using, say, some of it for CNR, or contributing all of it and doing one large debt offset in 2031. So theoretically, we could build in some of it into the budget, and then we take our year-end surpluses. So then by 2031, we have about 10 million to offset the bonding or the debt.
Or to offset the debt service payment during the spike?
Yes, I think when I ran it, it was more beneficial to offset the actual debt, but we could run it both ways and see how it works out.
So Amy, that would involve not spending the 5 million this year?
Right.
And what would you do with that 5 million? Just hold it, or would you just reduce, would you go to zero on the bonding this year?
I think since interest rates are coming down, I'd like to see where they're at that point in time. If the interest rates are going to come down and it's beneficial to issue debt, I would probably issue debt at a lower rate and then keep our cash, and try to get investments in CDs, or maybe look at outside sources other than what we're other doing. Like we have Liberty Rank right now, but we could do some intro rates at other banks perhaps and try to get some investment savings off of that. But if interest rates are going to remain high around the 4 or so, or go back up, or whatever the change is going to be, where it's going to be a high 3, then I would probably utilize our cash.
You would utilize what?
Cash. The reserves.
To reduce debt?
Mm-hmm.
So that would leave very little for CNR spending this year. Right, that would leave about 1 million. What would that leave?
It depends on what the target is. So, do you want additional money for cash for capital? If so, what would be the target amount? And if not, then, I mean, I guess that's self-explanatory. But what are we trying to achieve for CNR?
Yeah, that's the question, what are you trying to achieve?
So we're trying to achieve for CNR, but we're also trying to plan for the capital project.
Mm-hmm.
So which one do we do in this uncertain time?
I mean, so I always back into the tax rate. So all of these modeling assumptions are based on the guidance from the Board of Finance as to where they want to see the tax rate, how we can manipulate reserves, things of that nature. So to answer it offhand, I don't know if I have a solid answer for you as to what you should or shouldn't do. But if you have a target expenditure increase and a target tax increase, I can back into what I think would be a good scenario.
What would they use the CNR for? And what's a good CNR number now?
So when Mary and I were first selectmen, this didn't exist, so we just budgeted what we could afford in the operating budget. We've now been at 2 million. 1.5 a year.
Yeah, so the Board of Ed has been about 1.2, and I think the town has been just shy of $1 million.
About 2 million.
So two questions I have. I mean, it's very difficult to make a call with so much uncertainty in the air. We do have to give some guidance on how much of CNR, because they're doing their capital planning. We don't want to come April and say, oh, by the way, you can't spend any of it.
Mm-hmm.
But how do we give that guidance with so much in the air? And, what I'm hearing from you is you'd like to have a better understanding of where we are in the tax and back into it. So maybe we should go to our guidance first then. Okay.
Yeah, I would need time with the model to play with different scenarios in the out years to come up with something that I think benefits what you want the boards to come back with.
Okay, can you go back to the levy calc and add back the 495 in the,
So who gets to decide on the non-education component of the CNR? Which board is that? Is that the combination of the town and the Board of Selectmen and everyone else, or?
so in the capital budget, it's the Board of Selectmen must approve it and recommend it to the Board of Finance, and then the Board of Finance approves. So Board of Ed recommends to the Board of Selectmen,
Mhm.
Board of Selectmen recommends to us, and then we put it in the budget. But they can budget capital within their operating budget, in which case it doesn't come to us.
Correct. Okay, got it. So this is in addition to that, right? The CNR number is in addition to their operating budget?
Yes,
Okay.
it's in the capital budget. So their operating budget, within their operating budget, they do have, both of them have some capital, although depending on where you fund it, is the traditional payback. And they have certain capital purchases that they make in their operating budget.
Mm-hmm.
On the Board of Selectmen's side, some snow plows are in their operating budget, some police cruisers are in their operating budget, but most capital is in the capital budget. It's an artificial distinction, it's still their budget, but it's just in a different thing. The main difference is that budgets are often funded primarily not with taxes. They're funded with reserves, which are prior year's taxes.
Mhm.
They're funded with grants, they're funded with special revenue funds, fees. So it's very small, much smaller portion is funded. I think a third of CNR is funded by current year taxes. I think only 5% of the CIP is funded by current year taxes, so very small amount. So operating budget hits the mill rate, the capital budget's less so,
Okay.
except through debt service. So what are the tax increases where we're starting at?
It's useful to know.
I'm just going to. So I don't know what we changed on this one offhand to put it back, but. All right, so if we go back to scenario 3, which is a large project in 2035, 2036, bonding 10 million every 2 years, and then use of reserves for CNR, and then operating budgets of 3%, your starting taxes for 27 are 3.3, 1.6, 2.02, and so on.
But where we're actually at like 4 and almost 5% of operating budgets right now, right?
Right.
Okay.
So if we put fixed costs in, it'll tell a different picture.
Can you go back down to the tax increases? I mean, just as a guide, Massachusetts, I think, uses 2.5% tax increase as a cap, with some exceptions, exclusions. Different communities use 2%. Some people use the 3-year inflation rate as their cap. We don't really have one. I know for me, I'm more comfortable in the 2% or lower range, but.
Or do we need to think about that as to what the policy should be?
Well, I don't think we could do that.
And what would that mean? How would we decide what that is? You just benchmark and
Well, you could benchmark. I mean, there are formulas out there. Massachusetts has actually an excellent one to do that. But I mean, we were elected because we were elected to execute our judgment. And as we heard from them, sometimes it depends on what the money is for. Maybe our community wants to spend it. And then we get to Bert's question, but can they afford to spend it? Can everyone afford to do this? And what does this mean to the type of community we have? I mean, just looking at this, obviously the 3-3 I'm not comfortable with this year. I think,
Yeah, especially after the previous 2 years that we've had,
yeah.
and the economy being the way it is, and job uncertainties.
So the question is, what is a reasonable number given that we heard from sort of the fixed costs? We know that inflation is hovering around 3%. It's slightly higher in New England than it is in other parts of the country. But we know the COLA is 2.8, and it's really lower than that because of the Medicare premium. So the question is, are those appropriate benchmarks? Do those weigh on your decision making?
Yeah, from a real perspective, that's going to be that's the real rate is going to be, have to account for COLA and for inflation, and then inflation in the New England situation is higher. So if we keep it under that, we'll probably pinch a lot less.
So I know when we started this, I really wanted to come in below the 256 because we've been progressively bringing it down based on the cumulative stuff and based on what folks were telling us they were hearing us on the trail. So a 2.5 would get us there if we could keep it at a 2.5%. But that, Amy, in terms of cuts, what would that mean if we had to do that?
About $750,000 cut.
150,000? You mean us
700.
750,000.
to get us down to the 2.5?
Mm-hmm.
257.
But remember, this is at the 3%.
But we're at 4, so it's a much bigger cut.
Right.
you
So
put in
this
the
is at the
fixed cost?
3.5 starting point.
Yeah.
Do you want me to put in the fixed costs?
Yeah, put in the fixed and see how much we'd have to get it down.
So what did you do there, Amy?
So hold on one second. All I did, I'll show you. 2, 8, 9, I think was the town. 4, 8, 9. And then the board was 418. Thanks.
She's now putting in the fixed cost.
So
Over
Lalitha,
last
this has just
That's the
this
49.
cell, which is our
Oh, I see. Okay.
prior budget from last year, and then we add the fixed cost percent increase. So for the town, it was 4.89, so it's just 29 million times 4.89, and then we just look at see what the increase is, and then I just kind of pick a number and try to get
Okay, got it.
yeah.
Okay.
Just while she's doing that, the 900,000, is there anyone who objects to using the 900,000 as the second year of their debt service plan as planned? Okay, we're gonna continue with that.
Use
Okay.
it. Okay.
Mike, you're still good with our debt service plan? Okay.
Can you bring it down to 2.49 to a little bit of
254 gets us below last year.
just to see. Like if you
249.
Yeah, to bring it down. So if we did 190. Yeah. So
Yeah, so it would be
195.
about 1.9 million in cuts off the fixed costs.
Amy, do you have any indication yet with healthcare costs? Is this in the 500 range, 600, 700?
At 11%, it was about $1 million to the Board of Ed budget. So it's probably maybe 300,000 to 400,000 on the town budget, if I were to guess.
And then if we use reserves, what could we get that down to?
Reserves, I think I calculated that we could use just over $1 million of the health reserves. So between the two, we could use about $1 million.
So that's $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just need $1 million more to get to the 2.5.
Easy.
No, we need 900,000 more.
Just 900,000.
Just 900.
Easy. See?
I mean, we don't have the revenue.
I think this is a sort of tough, we were elected to do this.
Yes. Well, why don't we pause that and let's just go to the guidance document. Let's start there and make
Yeah,
sure we've
yeah.
got all the other pieces, and then we'll come back to the final
Yeah.
recommendation. If you could pull up that guidance Excel document.
Maybe.
While Amy's pulling it up, I'm just going to read the decision points. Last year we had signaled that we were not going to use general fund reserves for recurring revenue expenditures this year. Is everyone still on board with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Mike, you good with that? Okay. We heard from our actuary about the transition to the full OPEB trust as recommended by to us last month. Amy, what were the operating impacts this year?
For
If we transitioned to the OPEB, there would be a slight, I don't remember, it wasn't that much.
It was 100,000.
Was
I
it
think
about
it was
a,
a net 100,000 with the pension, but just converting to the OPEB was 200,000.
was what?
200,000.
So about 300 total?
No, it was a net of 100,000.
Oh, okay. So is everyone good on,
Yes.
that's
Yeah,
a,
Yes.
yeah.
this is sort of a no-brainer, spend to save, $20 million, okay. So we're good with that. We'll get back to annual bonding and cash for capital. Prior to you being on the board, Todd Burke suggested we maintain at least a minimum balance of 250 in capital reserves in case there's an unexpected problem. Is people's comfortable with that?
Is that number the right-ish number?
We think it's the right-ish number,
Okay.
but we don't know.
Okay.
We also have general fund reserves we can dip
And that's
into.
money that'd be available across the two different capital categories. but-
Yes. If, like, I would say we had something break, like one year a dam broke and they had to do something
yeah,
or
yeah.
burn for 60,000. It's usually in the 60 to 100, but there's usually something that falls apart. We'll come back to whether to reduce borrowing or use for CNR. Based on last,
It's up on the screen now.
oh, there we go. Okay.
That's
Great, okay. So if we can keep going down, so we have maintained AAA bond rating as goals, partner with fellow boards. Everybody good with those goals? Because those are gonna be in my presentation in April. Okay, good. General fund reserve, 16%, that's our policy. Recurring revenues for recurring expenditures. So if there is a spike in building permits, Amy, please don't budget that as for the operating budget, beyond what is the non-volatile part of that. Health reserves. Our current policy is once reserves hit 25%, we can use up to 1/3 of excess reserves. Good. Authorizing that? Okay. Mike, yell out if, or someone pay attention to Mike if that's okay. We have expenditure, conservative, continue with Amy's conservative revenue forecasts. They're not overly conservative. They're being based in consultation with our consultant on fiducian, stuff like that. Still good with that? Okay. Objective, data driven. Mark was absolutely right. Returning 1 million in operating expenses was too much. That budget can be drawn tighter, and we expect to see that. We are at 98.5 tax collection assumption rate. I tried to find out when that began. I know it's been our tax collection since at least 2009 when I was first on the board. No change there.
What is the actual tax collection rate?
About 99.5. The state
No.
used 98.75.
Okay.
So
this
it-
is fine.
Yeah, it's the revenue cap. We get credited for that by our AAA bond rating. We're at still at the pension investment assumption at 6.5. Budget the actually required contribution for ARC. We always do that. We will not miss this. We gave the okay to transition to the full use of the OPEB trust, and budget should reflect that. Interest investment assumption, we'll get that recommendation from Amy after consultation with Fiducian. They said
Good
they'd
luck
get
on that.
Amy. I know. Well, we'll do the best we can
You
with
know,
it.
yeah.
But Amy, if you'll work with our advisors there and come up with a recommendation. Interest investment assumption, there we are. Municipal cap, there is a municipal cap. It does not currently apply, but we always build our budgets to make sure that we follow the structure of it anyway. I think that should continue. It's a good discipline.
What do you mean it doesn't apply?
I think there's no penalty now for not following
Oh,
it.
I
They
see.
waived the penalty. Debt service, we're still targeting at 8, although we have not to exceed 8%.
Targeted at 7, you mean?
Target at 7, not to exceed 8%. Traditional payback, we had already decided in October, but we have 2 members here that we're going to keep that at the current levels. We offered to relook at it over the summer. Major policy changes are done over the summer, not in the heat of the budget. State municipal aid will use the governor's budget for municipal aid amounts. Those are not certain for new members, but they're the best we have, and all municipalities use the governor's budget. Salaries, we have requested that all salaries be budgeted full year, no mid-year starts. To the extent there is going to be a vacancy, that should be captured in the vacancy rate. What we don't want is, I'll just add a position and only pay $1 this year, and then you have a huge spike next year. We don't want to see that. Gross and net budgets, please show gross and net spending. And then GFOA budget award criteria, incorporate criteria into the budget. We're making progress each year. We want to eventually get to the point where we have all criteria in the budget. Not because we want to win the award, but because that is best practices. And we are Simsbury, we always follow national best practices.
You do want to win the award.
And we want to win the award.
I just want to tell people how it's done.
Yes. Debt and capital planning, annual bonding. We are currently at $10 million every 2 years, unless we hear differently from Amy. That will maintain that amount for now. Cash for capital we'll come back to at the end of this discussion. Use of capital reserves. Everybody was on board using the $900,000 for the debt service plan as the offset this year. Maintain fund balance, we got the okay on that of keeping $250 just for an emergency if something comes up. We'll come back to the next one. Recurring capital, to the extent you can, and just looking at the fixed costs, we know this is not going to happen this year, but we would like to integrate operating budgets where feasible, recurring capital. Just as we did with the plow truck, you buy a plow truck every year, put it in the operating budget. I don't think that's going to be possible this year, but if something happens, we'd love to see that. CIP and CNR documentation. I think after our last meeting, and this is certainly a best practice, please add to the CIP project descriptions, projected start and completion dates so that we are aware when there is a delay. Make sure there is an inflation cost escalation. Assumptions are shared, if any, and planned for vehicles and equipment appropriations to lapse annually. That is new, Wendy, on the advice from council. Plan for vehicles and equipment appropriations to lapse annually instead of every 3 years. That's from our council.
What was the reasoning for that? Do we know?
Charter. The charter language is more constrictive, he felt. It was only for construction that we could just do it
Do you
for.
remember that?
Yes. I forget which chapter number it is. We discussed it
feel like
at
we
the
vague-
last meeting, yeah.
Okay,
So
I feel like
the,
we vaguely discussed it.
the question is, once there's an appropriation, which is an authorization to spend, how long does that last if the town, for various reasons, doesn't have the opportunity to spend it in the first year? And what we settled on was annually.
I remember this, okay.
All right, well, continue, thank you for starting with the prioritization. We'll have that for the current year budget. We have asked in the past and would, request again any long-term fund balance plans for the special revenue funds, and I included BOE non-lapsing as that now has 850. What is the plan for use there? Benefits budgeting, we have asked this in the past. Please break out by department or I know this wasn't able to be done in the past, but please identify what resources you would need to be able to do so that we can get the total cost of police, library. Right now, we don't know how much we're spending on each of the departments because the benefits are segregated. Major policy changes, again, Mark referenced this, major policy changes will not be considered during the budget period. And I put between March and April, except the OPEB trust, which we're going to do tonight, strong preference for consideration over the summer. And maybe we just want to say not be considered between now and March. I mean, at this point, we can just say will not be considered during the budget period. We could just say that because it's too hard. We don't have the time to do a major policy review. So we'll take out that, Amy, between March and April, and just won't be considered during the budget period. One thing we had discussed, because we don't know what's happening. Amy, could you reduce the between March and April on there? Line 14.
44.
44.
C 44.
Take out March and April and OPEB because we're going to do that tonight. It just ended at the budget period. Okay. Positive grand list revenue variance. Right now, we have the grand list where it is. The question is, what happens if the grand list comes in better? Maybe we don't want to give guidance on this, given the things, because it might be contributing to getting the tax increase down. I don't know. Maybe this is something we choose not to give. If there's a negative grand list variance, I think we will have to adjust our guidance if the grand list shrinks. So I don't, maybe leave those blank for now.
How would we apply a positive variance to mill rate relief? How
So
would that work?
So if we got it to the two, say we're at a tax increase at 3 and we want to be at 2.5, and we gave the guidance at 3, and the grand list comes in better than we
Oh,
expected.
you mean comes in during the budget?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh,
So that, I mean, I don't
Actual-
think that's,
No, okay.
that's not an issue this year, apparently. I don't think that's going to be an issue.
Yeah,
So maybe
I
we
think
take out
can
those
Leave
variances.
our options open
Yes.
on either of those.
So we'll take out those as a guidance principle, Amy. So, yeah. Okay. Quarterly reports. Amy has already said she's going to get us the quarterly reports prior to the budget vote so that we can make sure that there's nothing we've missed on that. Amy's, that's still good. So we'll plan on, you'll saw on the calendar, there's a optional second budget hearing. We'll have to do a mandatory one because there's no way Amy can get that done for the first week in April. Is that fair statement? Okay. These are past abatements and exemptions to include in the budget. They were done last year. We'd ask that all assumptions be clearly identified so we understand the basis for the budgeting. Savings, summarize all savings. Sometimes there are line item savings, but you have to hunt and peck for them. So if we could get a summary of where there were savings in the budget. And then contingency and discretionary spending, just let us know where that is and what it's for. Well, these are the big numbers we're going to have to come up with. And then we'll do that in a second. OPEB trust, we're going to do that. And then the debt service plan, we're going to do that. Okay,
Right.
so everything else is good. Mike, do you have any concerns with any of that? Anything crazy there? Okay. Amy, do you have any concerns?
Good, thank you.
Amy, any concerns with any the direction we're going in there? Okay. All right.
So I have a question. So if we're talking about budget increases, we just heard how the town had savings compared to their budget. So are these increases relative to the budgeted amount or compared to the actual amount that was spent?
So it would be to the budgeted amount, but our guidance, because that's how the citizens see a budget to budget, but knowing that they had $1 million in savings, should there be the same guidance to the board in terms of percentage to the Board of Selectmen as there is to the Board of Education? This is the second year where the Board of Selectmen has returned $1 million, so tax for things that they didn't spend. And we're trying to understand why this keeps happening, and we don't have a good sense of that other than to say, why would we give you an increase when you didn't spend $1 million last year?
I thought Mark said it was due to the vacancy rate,
He did.
Yeah,
so we have to look at that, right?
but it's happening year over year, so we're just trying to
Happened, yeah. He
understand.
said it the year before as well.
Okay.
And that's even with us implementing vacancy rate savings, so we're not understanding what's going on there.
Well, I can't speak to it, so.
Yeah,
And if it really is a vacancy rate, then is the position vacant and it's appropriate to align actuals to budget?
I
Right.
know most of those are PD
PD.
police department.
Yeah.
Sorry, SCTV. We have 5 at the moment, or it was 6. We filled 1. So it's just the staffing,
what's going on there? Why are people leaving?
retirements, and then also just people left.
Everybody's having
Yeah.
problems hiring police.
Police hiring is down.
Okay, so maybe, and that is a basis for not doing similar guidance. Amy, if we wanted to get to below, we were at last year at 256, including the fire district, 236 without. 2 million, we're gonna have about 1 million from health savings. 1 million is less than 1% of the total budget, right? What would we need to get to the same tax increase or slightly below or last year? Is that the 2 million?
Yeah, that's what you said.
Yeah, that was 2.4, so it'd be right around that.
Okay. So when we did the fixed costs, that did not include savings from retirements yet on the Board of Ed side, right? So that will naturally come down. Last year that came down by 500,000, so that could be a big number. Or it could be a small number, I don't know, but it has the potential to be.
They have 2 or 3 already built in for 300,000, and I don't know if they're gonna
Did they include, was that baked into their fixed costs or no?
So it's not, but if we keep the vacancy rate the same, like they've already used it.
If we keep the vacancy rate the same?
So if we're still subtracting, I think it was like 300 or 290, about 200?
It's just under 300.
It's just under, so about $300,000 off of the staffing from last year.
But that was
versus-
only on the town side.
That was on the board side.
Matt had said they didn't budget a vacancy rate. Did they
They-
budget?
Budget
Oh.
a vacancy rate every year.
Okay.
Does the $2 million we need to get to 2.4, does that take account of the $100,000 net for the OPEB process that we just voted for?
Nope.
So it would have to be another $100,000. So we
At
need
2
1
million
point.
overall.
Maybe 1.1.
I mean, this is guidance, it's not a cap. I think
Yeah,
asking
let's-
people to
let's
come
go
in.
let's go big.
Let's try and get, assuming we're gonna have 100,000 to use, that's naturally, I mean, asking for less than 1% of the total budget to see if we can do that, I think is something
Yeah,
that
they can.
we should set as a goal.
This means reducing the anticipated increase by less than 1% of the budget. Is that right?
Say that again?
Yeah.
The tax
What we're talking
increase?
about is reducing, when we're saying we want to reduce it by $1 million or $2 million with the other, what we are reducing is the anticipated increase in expenditures by less than 1%.
And if we were to do it proportionately, Board of Ed takes about 75% and 25, or is it 70-30?
It was 70-30 in our slides.
It was 70-30.
70-30. Yeah, I haven't looked at it recently.
So what is 70% of a million.
It's 700,000.
Oh, yeah. I think it down's a little late. All right. But it's really 1,000,001, so it could be a little different.
770,000.
All right, to see if we can find that,
That'd be great.
and then on the Board of Ed side, I mean, the Board of Selectmen, their increase is so much bigger than the town, it seems to me that's not fair.
Board of Selectmen is so much bigger than the
Your percentage increase is so much
town.
more.
Town.
The town is so much bigger than the Board of Ed.
Yeah, you said.
Oh, the other way around. They're at 489 and you're at 365. I mean, they're at 365, so why should the Board of Ed have to bear more of that?
I would like to see the Board of Ed use their non-lapsing fund, or at least not grow by another $400,000 in this budget
Here, here.
or this next cycle.
You're concerned about, when you say that, you're talking about potential surplus at the end of next budget cycle?
Yeah, right, like magically $400,000 just lands in a non-lapsing fund, right? What can we do to get them to budget better? And I get it, it's a small percentage, it's a rounding error to their massive budget, but it's just weird seeing that grow. Unless there's a plan, right, if that's their cash for capital and they're gonna use it as part of their plan on a major project, but I'm not a fan of that.
Yeah, and part of when this fund was created, its purpose was to be a ballast against unanticipated special education, which, as we know, can add 100,000 to 500,000 in costs in one fell
Yeah,
swoop.
well, I get it, right, but it's almost $1 million,
Yeah.
right, and if it grows another 400 next year, it's gonna be 1.2.
How much they contributed? How much this year? I mean, they're giving it to the town this year. They had said so that was about 100,000. So they only had 100,000 this year, which is
The number I saw and whatever we've been looking at said that they had a non-lapsing balance of 800,000.
no. They're absolutely for this year though. It's only 100,000. They ended in surplus. But you're right, Amy. Where did those contributions come from? That 850? Because we were seeing deficit in the Board of Selectmen supporting them. So where was
So
this?
they had a plan a few years ago to utilize non-lapsing to offset their operating budget. Back when we had the ARPA funding and we had the 2 social workers and we did a plan every year to feather in the social workers. And then we just didn't end up needing it. So it stayed in there.
So Amy, can you go to the modeling thing and we could show us what? I mean, it's hard to do. Can you model in the 100? Do we know what, can you break down sort of the percentages on health savings there? I mean, how would we calculate that? We could say it assumes 1 million in savings between board and town. But if most of that savings coming from the Board of Ed, does it make sense to put the bigger burden of further cuts there? I mean, how can we do this equitably is what I'm trying to get at in terms of guidance without knowing the health number.
What do you mean without knowing the health number?
So how much we're gonna be able to, like the health number, some percent of that is gonna reduce the health line item in the Board of Education side, and some amount is gonna reduce the health number on the town side by how much? And percentage wise, because the cuts, if we have to give them a number. We don't know what the health savings are gonna be. We don't wanna say you have to cut more and they go, but we already cut a ton with our health savings.
So just based on the number of full-time staff, I think we have 200.
On the town side? No. Full-time equivalent or just full-time?
Full-time that's benefits eligible.
Yeah, like 168, 170.
All right, so about 200, and I think the board has 6. Oh, is it 6? 6. would do, for the health insurance, I would take those, FTE numbers and break it out by percentage. $190.
For general government, yeah. Otherwise,
So like 80-20.
Pardon?
80-20.
On, okay. 80% going to the Board of Ed? Okay.
And what's the total number?
If we're using the total number of FTE or if we're using the $1 million from the health insurance fund.
The
Million.
million from the health insurance. So that's okay, 80-20 of $1 million?
All right. So if that works out there, what is the Board of Ed's number and the Board of, did you already add that in?
No. So we're using the $1 million from the health insurance fund. And then if we're splitting that 80-20.
Well, here's the question, Amy. Should we just present it like this or should we, and then do the target that we need to get and divide that 70-30? I mean, what is a fair way to say, hey, let's get us to the 2.5?
I mean, I would take the reduction and just do it 70-30.
Okay.
But
Can you show us what that would look like?
that's overly simplified if you are if you're looking to have the town take a larger burden of it. Wait, hold on. So if we're using, so it's still the million at 70-30. So it's still the 700,000.
Isn't it $1.1 million
Yeah.
with the OPEB?
Yes, with the OPEB.
Good job.
Good catch.
So, are you looking for their operating percentages?
Yeah, they just, Matt always says, what's his number? What are they
Mhm.
targeting?
So if we give the town credit for the 330,000, and then the board would be 770. And then
Where are we now with the tax increase? Can you go down and see where we are with the health?
so the tax increase is 3.21, but then do you want me to allocate the additional health between the two, or do you want me to just take it off the top? So that
What
they
did
don't
you, I thought you already did the health between the two.
Well, so if I do the health in here and we take it off the top, then we're telling them, we're giving them the percentage based without the health, we're giving them the percentage target. If you want them to have the health included in their percentage target, then I have to allocate this million for the health insurance.
Does it matter which way we do it?
I mean, no,
Okay.
whatever your
The
preference
other way
is.
easier. All right, so let's just get us down to the,
Let's go home.
So the town would be at 3.78 and the schools would be at 3.31.
And what does that do to the tax increase down below?
Brings you to 224.
I think that's a good place to start.
Wait, how much are they reducing?
330,000 for the town and 770,000 for the board.
I'm sorry, how much?
770,000 for the board and 330,000 for the town.
70% of $1,000,001.
Right.
But does the board take on the proportion, does the Board of Ed take on the proportion of the OPEB increase? Do they get the benefit of that as well?
Well, but down the line, yes.
Okay, in that case, they should take it.
Okay. Amy, so this guidance is based on the assumptions that we know of the grand list right now and the non-tax revenue. If those numbers change, is this board open to changing that guidance once we have better numbers? Because that 700 is gonna be a little bit hard on the Board of Ed side. I do not think it's gonna be hard on your side, given the amount you guys have returned, but I don't know.
You could return more, Wendy.
Can I say clarify? Sorry. So of that, like 770, nothing's preventing Mark and Matt from working together. If Matt says I can only get to 650.
Yeah,
Mark said-
absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify that.
No, that's a great point.
That's good.
In fact, when I used to do the budgets with Matt, I often my operating budget I couldn't get under control and I'd give him capital. So that's part of the
Yeah.
compromise, absolutely. And if revenue comes in better, I mean, we want to get to below the tax. Do we have consensus we'd like to be at or below the tax increase percentage of last year?
Yeah, well, that's what the voters told us when we went door knocking. They've had 2 years of increases and they don't want.
I'll go stronger. I can't see myself voting yea on a budget that doesn't.
Okay.
That's where I stand. That's how clear I think the directive we all got was.
Yeah, it was clear.
And I trust that we've got professionals in both parts of the town that spend money that are gonna be able to get us there. And I think they just need to know that we're serious about holding it to that.
And hopefully we'll get some better revenue numbers from the state. Mike, can you weigh in on some of this and let us know what you're thinking?
I would like to be closer to where we were last year, for sure.
Okay. So this is a good it's a little bit better than where we were last year. I mean, if we,
Can get it even lower, be great.
or do we want to go higher? I mean, just say, hey, Board of Ed, you 670, and Board of, what happens if we say 670 for the Board of Ed?
Why are we doing that?
Why are we doing this?
We don't have to, I just want to see.
Why are we holding the $1 million or $1,000,001 out of the savings from health insurance, which is incurred across the DOE and the town? Why is that spiked out? Sorry, I missed that.
Just for accounting.
A flu, Theraflu, whatever you want to call it, going what's wrong with those.
Oh, no. It was just for accounting purposes because that's coming out anyway, regardless. And then what's the additional that needs to come out to hit our number?
It really is, it's a savings in both budgets.
Yes.
And so in an ideal world, it would reduce both of their top line numbers, no?
Yes,
It will.
absolutely.
It's just
Okay,
you're
we're
taking,
just for quick math, we threw $1 million out there,
Right.
right.
That's
Yep.
why that's there that way?
Yep.
Alright, thank you.
Because we
Sorry.
think that's 1/3 of reserves above 25%. Okay. Amy, will that,
Thank you.
have you done an analysis? Are you comfortable with the cliff that will, I mean, I know this is what our consultant has advised we can use. Are you comfortable with that?
I mean,
Not entirely.
it's like predicting the future based on past results. Yes, I'm comfortable with that.
Okay. All right, so then, Amy, do you have the ability to convey that? Wendy, do you have questions on what it is the guidance there?
Not now, because I'm not totally zoned in here. I remember we did the cash for capital a few years back. We put that line item in. Like, cause we didn't do that, we don't do that every year.
Yeah.
That specific cash for capital, right?
No.
No,
Right, we did it though a few years back but that I remember.
When there was a dip in debt service, and so it equalized the thing because the debt service was then gonna pop back up, so it smoothed the mill rate.
Yeah.
We do not have the ability to do that. We're using reserves to smooth them. But what I don't like is I'm seeing a town operating budget increase of 378 and the school operating budget of 343. I think they should be the same, and the town should be brought down to 343.
Well,
No, that was because of the change
just
in the,
made
from
it to 670.
770 to 670, so if she changes that back to 770, it should equalize.
Oh,
Oh, it's still,
Not as much as I thought.
have there been times though where the Board of Ed operating budget has been higher than ours and we?
if anything, yours should be lower than the Board of Ed's based on the turn-backs.
this isn't, this is about the increase year over year.
Okay.
And that increases, the town side is at what is the percentage there? Is that the percent of decrease or the percent of increase of the budget?
That's the percent of increase.
Yeah, that's the percent of increase.
So why would we give the Board of
I'm just
Selectmen a
asking.
higher?
That's
Yeah.
all. Like I said, I haven't zeroed in on every number that's up there or the process so far, so I'm really not caught up to speed.
If we did 3535, what does that get us to? I mean, I'm more comfortable with that because it's the
Was
same
that, was
guidance.
that 253 or 233? I couldn't read it.
That feels
353.
more like what we were saying.
Yeah.
It was 2.3.
But what is that from a per capita dollar basis? So if you go down.
Oh, you mean,
yeah, 233. Yeah,
yeah,
good.
divided by 12, so that's about, I don't know,
$20.
$20 a month.
So
Mike, do you have your number? Are you comfortable with that? As comfortable as you're gonna be?
Yeah, I think this is a better
Yeah.
number.
I agree with you, Lisa, like, why, one shouldn't be able to, if we're gonna hold one at 3.5 or 3.3, the other one should be down, or they should both just move down, like you just did with the 3.5.
Okay,
Yeah,
I wish it was 2.5, but I
yeah,
realize, right, we're still absorbing negotiated contract rates that were, in that ballpark. So,
Regina, can you live with that number?
Yes.
I can.
Lolita?
Yeah, I can.
Bert?
I can live with that number.
Okay, the expectation is we would like to be at 2%. We may not get there. Revenues may change, and that may change. If the revenues come up, and the needs are justified, we might say, okay, right? But 236 right now is our number until we get new
Yeah.
revenue.
The dream is a zero, right?
Yeah, dream is zero.
The realistic numbers, 2.36.
Okay, are we comfortable with that, guys?
Yes.
We do that.
Okay,
So here's the question, if the revenues come in better,
I gotta be
can we
honest,
get as close to zero as we can?
yeah, if the revenues come in better, I don't necessarily wanna put it back in the budget.
Yeah,
I wanna pass that.
Back to
on.
the taxpayers, yeah.
so my only caution there is we should have a conversation with the three boards about what that means in terms of service provision. And I think that,
I agree, but as someone who has had to cut budgets, it's not fun. Everyone's gonna sit here and talk about how hard it is. And I'm sympathetic to that. However, I think we still need to challenge the professionals that we put in charge of these important parts of our government to go tell us what our options are. And I would like to see what those options are. And then
Fair
the
enough.
elected boards that govern them can decide if getting rid of curling at the high school level or only having 2 pickleball courts in Terriffill is worth it or not. That's not the job of this part of the table, that's the job of the other two parts of the tri-board. And I think our job is to encourage the professionals to give options to those elected boards that let them decide how to get to those numbers. I think that's our role with this.
Yes, and then the second conversation is, as we get new information, we all need to evaluate that. And then those conversations will be had, but I'm comfortable with the way you stated that.
Can I just clarify this? This is what I just think I heard. You're saying if you know, we've made our cuts to meet the guidance, right, and we've cut some services, and we're at where we're supposed to be, if there's additional grand list growth that makes things better, you're saying we're not gonna relook at reinstituting those services, we're just gonna hit the mill rate?
No.
Is that what I'm hearing?
No, what you're
Okay.
hearing is that
Well,
that may
where's the
happen.
cut? The number's increasing. There's no cuts here, right? The number year over year is increasing. There's no cuts.
And I think at that point in the process, presumably we'll have a town budget and we'll have a Board of Ed budget that executes the services we've committed to with a 2 whatever it is % increase in the budget. And so that's the expense side, right? That's how those parts of our town are spending our money. Separately, we're finding that there's more money coming in. And I think my position is I don't necessarily want to assume that means we're gonna say, oh, great,
No, I get that.
increase that there.
Yeah, no, that's what
I
she's
just
trying to
haven't
say.
seen the budget, so you're talking about this is the increase to the budget. I have not seen the budget.
Right.
Well,
So I
of
don't
course.
know what's in there. Is it gonna hit exactly to, you know, the increase that's projected? I don't know.
Sure, but I
haven't seen
think-
Mark's
I
budget, is
think
my
It's
point.
like,
I
it's
think
a
how-
hypothetically.
Yeah, I get that.
I think how this should be read is there's not a big appetite from the Board of Finance to go above this number.
That's
I
fine.
think that's pretty accurate, right? Sorry, Mike.
Yeah, and the voters have told us, you know, as they have told you as well, right?
So,
That, yeah,
no.
that they don't want another increase because we've already had 2 years of increases.
Yeah.
And so we have to do everything we can to deliver that to them.
I get that.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what you guys we're all going to do that. So, so if the top line looks nicer from a revenue perspective, that should go back to the taxpayers. And
I would just say keep an open mind, and we'll hear from the other boards in terms of the needs as well.
Sure.
And we can revisit, but it is the sense of this board that it's going to need to be justified, you know, clearly so that we can understand
So
it.
what are you saying? Just tell me, what are you?
Your
you're
number
saying
is
3.5%
Increase.
Of an increase from last year.
Right. That
And
is,
then
we are asking that you
Yeah.
limit the increase in your expenditures to
Got that.
3.5%.
you've got this, Wendy.
And we understand that you will have some health reserves. There's going to be $1 million that's going to help you get there. So you're not having to do it all on your own. We're asking,
Wendy, I'm very sorry for talking over top of you. That was very rude of me and I
No, it's
apologize.
fine. It's fine.
I'm gonna blame it on the cold medicine, but it was,
I have a sick
inappropriate.
person at home, so I commiserate with you.
I will point out that 3.5 is above both Social Security and COLA, but the tax increase. How are we getting to a 2.6 tax increase with no grand list, Amy, and a 3.5 budget increase?
2, 3, wait. So
I mean, so there is a little bit of grand list. And the grand list numbers that are in your presentation are based on current mill rate, and these are based on projected out mill rates.
What does that mean by dollar?
So in Lisa's presentation, any new tax dollars are based on a current mill rate because that's what's been approved. And so that's what we're working with as far as current status quo. So if you were to have zero tax increase or zero mill rate increase next year, that would be your new growth in revenue. If you're based on your guidance, you're willing to increase expenditures, then your growth, if you will, is based on a new proposed mill rate, which is higher than the current year mill rate. So then you have a little bit more tax growth of about
And can you go down
530,000.
to the levy calc again? So we're going from a 34.16 to a 34.93. And that's the 2.33% difference?
Okay, so the 2.33 includes the fire,
Right.
right?
What is it with,
Hold
does
on.
that include the fire?
It does not include the fire, that's just the town, because we're comparing to last year at the 236. But, I mean, it's the same right now because the fire is
It's the
assumed
same
the
number.
same. So if the fire changes, then that number will change, but otherwise, if it's the same, then it's just the town part that's changing, and that percent increase related to that.
So what would be the home impact increase if we added the fire?
Mm. $225.
It actually comes down a little bit.
It comes down, it's better that way, yeah, because that's remaining flat.
And just that's a bigger number, right?
Right.
Because it's remaining flat, exactly.
Okay.
Okay, so the guidance is,
Maybe I'm missing something.
there
The
is
total
something.
mill rate goes from, or rather, the mill rate exclusive of fire goes from, oh wait, I'm looking at two different numbers. 33.02 to 33.79.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an increase of 0.77. Isn't that more than 2% of 33?
And how is that increase calculated? From 33.02 to 33.79, what is the?
Okay,
You did it?
I withdraw the objection.
Calculator.
Let's go back to 70% of a million.
All right.
70% of 1.1 million.
Yes. All right. Okay. So we're comfortable at the 3.5, which is higher than the rate of inflation in COLA, but gets us to a tax. I still don't understand why our taxes are only going up 2.5 with no new.
Is it?
With
Let's-
no new
let's-
grand
Another
let's not
million
think
coming
about
from
it.
somewhere else, and that was
Well,
the
so
other
we
thing?
dropped it.
It's just because the grand list is so much bigger. Is that why than it was?
No,
Much
but there's a
bigger.
million.
And there's a higher mill rate, and it's almost 9 o'clock.
All right.
No,
We're
but
not
you're
gonna
right,
grasp.
Lisa. Why is that increasing by 3.5, but the bottom is decreasing?
Huh?
Is it because the mill rate assumption is higher? Is that what's driving
Well,
that?
your debt service went down,
Mhm.
and you just used $1 million
Right.
to offset the expenditures, so your expenditures in total are not going up 3.5, they're going up.
Right.
What are our total expenditures? Can you just add the expenditures on the gross expenditures? What are those going up? Finish it up. That there it is. Okay. That explains it.
Oh, I get it. Okay.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, so do we have
I can
that
sleep
then?
at night.
All right, so we have all the guidance. What we don't have, and I think, Amy, I think we can't make that decision tonight because there are too many unknowns, but we can give you, ask for your assistance to please come up with some scenarios for January in terms of, you know, I mean, they're planning their capital. How do we know what to do without knowing what's coming down the road? Maybe.
So, so based on that, are we planning on having conservative revenues where
Yes.
we're planning on having a surplus back to the
Yes.
town? Or are we trying to close that surplus gap by limiting those expenditures?
I
And
would
if that's
not.
a way that they get to the 3.5.
So,
So that's where it's hard because unless you tell me where you want to be surplus wise, I don't know what to build into the capital reserve and then therefore play with.
So I would tell you conservative revenues because we want to keep that, but objective budgets. So Mark was off $1 million. That's hard. Conservative revenues. I mean, could you have budgeted the interest rate better than you did based on the advice you got from our consultant?
It's not budgeting it better. It's like, so we know that we've had these surpluses in interest rates because I tend to be on the conservative side. Do we want to, take my conservative projection, raise it like 0.5% and try to get it closer together?
Well, so then you're cutting capital. And we hear that.
Exactly.
So I would
that's why
say
I
no.
need your help.
So I would say
that's
no.
why I need your guidance.
Our guidance is this assumes conservative revenues, right?
So it does. So we're assuming status quo where revenues are going to be conservative. We're going to budget for full-time positions, no increase to the vacancy rate.
No, we're not, I didn't say that. You can do that if you think the number's wrong.
So then the
at
surplus is gonna
350.
come down.
What?
So then the surplus is gonna come down. Cause if we
Yeah.
had $1 million in savings on the town side,
I don't think that's realistic. They should be more at the 600, between 3 and 500. I mean, although you can talk me out of it, but I think revenue should be conservative and we should try and be more objective on the expenditure side. Yes, that will reduce
so
some
only
capital.
use the revenue estimates, only use the revenue surpluses to add to the capital reserve fund. Is that what I'm hearing?
No, it would also be the tax collection assumption rate.
That's revenues.
Yeah.
I agree with that, yeah.
Now there could be some turnbacks, and those can definitely go back to capital. He can budget for that, absolutely, but that goes to his 3.5%.
Right. But for modeling purposes, what do you want me to count on for a turn back? What we have been turning back, or something smaller because you
Smaller
want the
than that.
expenditures to be reduced? So only base it on revenues? Or cut the expenditures in half and then base it on revenues?
So the way I look at it is, what is a reasonable amount to come in with a budget? If you have an expenditure budget, what is a reasonable amount of savings? Is it 1%? Is it 2%? Is it 3%? What is it? Right now, we're at like 1 million on 29,000. What was that as a percent of his
29
budget?
million.
Right, so when I'm going through this, if we're gonna base it on how we've always been done, how it's always been done, I'm gonna look at the police budget, for example, and know that we have 6 vacancies right now. And that's gonna be built into my projections. However, if you wanna see that gap close, I'm gonna increase the vacancy rate and not build in those 6 positions. That's why I'm looking for guidance on how do you want me to close the gap? Do you want me to keep it open, how we always have been? Where do you wanna see that come in?
So ideally, I would look at it as sort of there's variable gap and sort of recurring gap. So what's the 5-year average on vacancy rate? We have an unusual situation for police. We don't want to create a situation where there's a cliff. You budget for 5 vacancies in police, that's never going to happen again, right? That would be a disaster. We had thought 350 was a normal vacancy rate, and that turned out not to be right. That may still be the right number if we think we're going to fill all the police departments. So I can't answer that without knowing that. I mean, how should we think about that?
Is it helpful to maybe think of the categories in which the town had a variance, and which of those categories are we looking to control better? I'm hearing that we don't think we could
That
have
would
really
be
done better
helpful.
on the interest rate side. So maybe we keep going with whatever we had modeled with on that. I'm hearing maybe we're not totally happy with how we approach the vacancy side, so we can talk about that. Are there other of those categories that we're like, this doesn't feel right? Because the overall number was within that 1 to 3% budget that we said was best practice. So maybe our problem isn't with the total amount, but there
No.
were 1 or 2 categories that we'd like to see us get closer in. Am I maybe reading that correctly?
That's right. I mean, it is a large amount to turn back 1 million on the Board of Selectmen side, except that we're hearing that there is a police problem. So is that a large amount given the police problem? And if it is, then you can't budget that full vacancy. I mean, you have to, you can keep that as the turn back as long as there's that problem. But once that problem goes away,
Well, right, so that just goes back to, maybe I should just make some assumptions and let you know what my assumptions are, and then you can change them.
Yeah.
perfect.
How about we have our fancy HR department make some assumptions?
Yeah, actually, that would be better. But on the revenue side, we're clear, continue with conservative. And we want to, we still consider surplus revenue in the 1 to 3% to be reasonable. Like to see it in the 2s. Not above 3 if we can.
So hopefully HR is looking at that, right? Like the retirement ages of folks and planning, right? They've got to be modeling some of that stuff.
Well,
Somewhere.
we don't have a lot of we had just had personnel, we get the list of vacancies, most of them are PD, there really weren't any vacancies, or things were in motion, but no big positions.
Yeah, it
So-
really is the 5 police officers, which at 77 entry call it 30 for benefits, so 107 per, you're at half of your million right there. And then you normally budget 400, 450,
I think it's 350.
350. So you're off by 150, so a person and a half.
So I think, you know, to your point, Amy, show us the assumptions, what you're doing. We're gonna ask, is this sustainable? If it's not, don't do it, right? If you think it's gonna be sustainable, then that's reasonable to bake into the base budget.
I hope by fiscal 27 we found 5 cops, just as someone who likes walking around.
You'd be
You could-
surprised.
I wish us good luck on that.
We've been looking for 3 for how many years now? At least 2?
We get one, we have 3, we get one, and then one resigns or retires. You can apply online at policeapp.com.
Career change.
Okay. Quick question. So Amy, the last thing I think we need from Amy is, can you show us some modeling as how we would not have a $13 million debt service spike if Mac comes back in 2028 and it shows approval for Squadron Line next year?
So
And what
you
it would
want to
look
move
like in,
up the big
Wait, I'm
capital
sorry.
project?
yes.
Can I, maybe I should have said this when Matt was in the room. I thought what Matt said was, he did not say that squadron would happen in the next 5-year budget.
I did not hear that. I heard he
He
might.
said it won't be on the 5-year capital plan this year.
So it might show up as starting on 2028.
Wait, no, because it's less than 5 years from now.
No.
Listen, I think that's where my, and Namis, I apologize. But if he's saying that it's not gonna be in the next 5-year cycle, that says to me he expects spending the money is a minimum of 6 years out?
I think he said that it's going to be in the 5-year strategic plan, isn't that what he said?
So Tecton said they're gonna get approval in 2028.
So, all right. So there's 2
So
things.
it
There's
could
the approval of the
happen
plan,
in
which is
5 years.
theoretically say it's 2028, but it only goes on the capital plan when we care about the funding, and we only care about the funding in 32, 33 if it's a 28 project, and the plan ends in 32. You said. So then, even if he were to get his ducks in a row and put it on the capital plan for next year, it's going to show in like the second to last year of the plan, because that's when we need the money. Not
But it would
because
need,
that's when the project is starting.
but it needs to be approved in the year, because they're gonna do the work up to it. It's true, the funding would show later, but
Right.
they would have to show the approval in 2028,
Mm-hmm.
even though the fund, so if you could show one scenario that, and one in other realistic scenarios of what it could do it. I mean, look, our target is to keep tax increases below at least 2%. I mean, we're mostly at the 2% over the long run. How would we do that?
So for the modeling, you want the 2031 or 32, whatever it
Yeah,
is.
approval
as the big
2028, funding starting in 2031, or whatever, when it would ever start. But assume it's gonna, like, next year's referendum's gonna say squadron. What would that look like?
Okay.
And then some other scenarios that you think might be reasonable, so that we can understand the different choices that are out there. Does that make sense?
Why would it say squadron in next year's referendum if they're not planning to put it 5
Because you
years?
have to approve, they're gonna be spending money on it. I mean, the funding would, the first thing on Squadron would probably be 500,000 for architectural designs.
Yeah, okay. Just
And
that's
then-
not-
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it would show, it would highlight that the project is starting here. This is 500 of a 100 million plan or whatever, or
So your
5,
capital plan would show it in 28, for example,
For
but
500,
your
not
debt
for
service
67,
modeling.
yeah.
yes. And you would probably show some initial outlays for design, engineering, stuff like that.
Which is part of the whole project.
Right.
Just if I learned anything new,
Yeah, can we just have the total project? All right, so do you feel like you have enough from us to convey that? The number is, can you go back, I'm sorry, just so you guys are done? All right, so we're at 3.5.
Yes.
The other assumptions were
I'll
all
send an
good?
email for you all to read tomorrow before we send it out.
Okay, perfect. All right, do we need to take a vote, or can we do this made?
Motion to adjourn?
Well, motion to approve the guidance as presented tonight?
Guidance is presented tonight.
Second. Oh,
Any
sorry.
further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion carries unanimously, and this if for some reason it turns out it's not a 236, on tax increase, we will adjust the guidance.
Do we need to do anything
The
else?
other
Like,
elected
approve the
representatives.
minutes from
Are we
last
not gonna
week?
approve the minutes?
Yes, we need to approve the minutes. We need to do one change. Lalitha is a doctor, so when you refer to her instead of Ms., it's Dr. Lalitha Shivaswamy.
I have a change to the November minutes. As I recall, Art House's remarks, he observed that Simsbury has the best Board of Finance
I object.
chair
I
in the
object.
state. And
No.
I believe that should be reflected in the minutes.
No, I object.
I second that motion.
Okay, so I move to approve the minutes subject to that change.
I second.
All right, thank you. Thank you, guys. All right.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm gonna abstain. All right,
abstaining, you're not gonna give Lolita her recognition. It was all one motion.
It is on one motion,
That's
right?
right.
all right,
It was
are we
for
done?
me.
So we just approved all the minutes. Okay, are we good? Anything
Move to
else we need to
adjourn.
do? All right, motion to, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Good job, everyone.
For over 40 years, SCM has been the voice of our town.
bringing us together through local programming,
Education and live broadcasts.
SEM isn't just about television.
It's about empowering our community.
Ensuring our voices are heard during government meetings.
And celebrating milestones.
like our high school graduations.
But today, SEM faces a challenge.
Our funding structure is based on television subscriptions.
And it's no secret, people have been cutting the cord.
With a shift to internet-only subscriptions,
SCM receives less revenue.
Even though all our programming is freely available online.
We need your support.
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 Your donation can make a difference.
It will ensure that SCM remains open.
Continues to educate our youth and keeps our community informed.
Thanks to SCM, I've been honing my creative skills, helping me work towards my college degree.
SCM is crucial for keeping our community connected.
SCM isn't just here to broadcast local events. They're actually preserving Simsbury's history.
Join us.
Join us in preserving Simsbury's voice.
Simsbury's voice.
Together we can ensure that SCM continues to thrive.
For generations to come.
Visit our website
Or scan the QR code on your screen to make your donation.
Every contribution
Counts.
Thank you for supporting Simsbury Community Media.
where your town
Your schools
And your government come
come together.